It's Cinemassacre's Monster Madness, Godzillathon. Oh man, Son of Godzilla. Now we're really getting started, in a very weird sort of way. Depending on which way you look at it, Son of Godzilla is either one of the worst or one of the best. The setting is once again on an island, but here there's a research team doing weather experiments. Lucky for them, the place is roaming with giant mantises. When a giant egg is discovered, the mantises break it apart, and it turns out to be Godzilla's son, who looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy. He continues to get the shit kicked out of him, till finally his dad shows up and beats the hell out of all the mantises. Bam, 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 what now, bitch? During the fight, he lets his son get hit in the face with a rock and drags the poor little guy by his tail. After the fight's over, he clobbers him and walks away. Doesn't even care about his newborn son. Worst parent ever. But then he comes back and gives him a little ride on his tail, so it's all good. People usually refer to the son as Minya or Manila, but in the movie I don't recall them ever giving him a name. There's lots of great moments, like this scene where Godzilla's trying to sleep and his son plays jump rope with his tail. He trips and Godzilla wakes up like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he gives a little head nod like, "Dad, go back to sleep." I could do commentary over the whole movie, but it wouldn't help anything. Okay, well here's another favorite part of mine. Whenever he doesn't want to listen to his dad, he shakes and makes a squeaking sound. Like that. Godzilla just drags him and tells him to shut the fuck up. There's another scene where he tries to teach his kid how to breathe fire, even threatening to hit him. Man, what a mean dad. But the poor little guy can only puff smoke rings. That is until Godzilla steps on his tail. Now, rather than try to narrate the entire movie, I guess I better just shut up and let you go watch it for yourself. The final scene involves a fight with a giant spider, and the ending in the snow is actually one of the most heartwarming scenes I ever saw to feature rubber suit monsters. Beneath Godzilla's tough exterior, you learn that he really does care about his son. Overall, the movie is actually quite enjoyable. Some people say it's one of the worst, maybe it is, but I say go check it out for a good laugh. It's Cinemassacre's Monster Madness, Godzillathon. Destroy All Monsters was originally intended to be the last of the Godzilla films. For this epic grand finale, Toho got together nearly all their monsters and put them all together into this one movie. Godzilla, Godzilla's son, Mothra, Rodan, the giant spider, Baron, Baragon, Manda, Gorosaurus, and Anguillus. The story takes place in the future. The year is 1999, but here all the world's monsters have been rounded up and contained on this one island, Monsterland. Here the monsters live in peace and everything is fine, until an alien race comes down and sets the monsters loose on Earth's cities. Most of the film involves the humans' efforts to break the aliens' control over the monsters. Despite being one of the most famous creature features of all time for its abundance of monsters, most of the monsters only make brief cameo appearances, and the movie seems to focus mostly on the humans, and that can be a little disappointing. But the scene that makes it all worthwhile is the end, when all the monsters team up to fight Ghidorah. It's classic. It is just classic. What really makes it cool is to see all the monsters' unique attacks. Mothra and the spider spit web, Gorosaurus does his kick thing, Godzilla's son puffs a smoke ring which strangles Ghidorah. They were really having a laugh with this one. They pretty much beat the shit out of Ghidorah, and if you saw the earlier films, you'll remember that Ghidorah lost against Godzilla and Rodan alone. Now he's against 7 other monsters. It's really not fair. This is a pretty good one. Give it a watch, but skip to the end. It's Cinemassacre's Monster Madness, Godzillathon. Okay, wow. Godzilla's Revenge. This movie is the wet core of the smelly dog turd, and we're gonna take a bite right in. Oh, there's nothing more sad than a grown man all alone wallowing in his sorrows watching Godzilla's Revenge, let alone making a video about it. I don't even know how to explain this one. All I can say is that this is where the series really started to change direction. Destroy All Monsters was the big finale. It got all the monsters together in a royal rumble and killed the evil Ghidorah. So that was really supposed to be the last movie. But instead, they decided to make more and gear them towards children. The plot involves a kid who's a fan of Godzilla. He gets beaten up by bullies and then he gets kidnapped by bad guys. I guess that's all you need to know. So he dreams that he's on Monster Island and becomes friends with Godzilla's son. How is this possible? Well, he can shrink down to human size whenever he wants. That's convenient, and he can talk too.
Godzilla says that I should learn to fight my own battles, you know.
Together, they watch Godzilla fight other monsters, which is shameless stock footage from Son of Godzilla and Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. And I don't mean that they reuse some of the same shots here and there. They literally recycle the same scenes. If they would have included more, it could have been a best of Godzilla compilation. The only redeeming factor is a new monster called Gabra, which looks amazingly stupid. He spends most of the time beating the shit out of Godzilla's son, and his body's surging with electricity. He's like twice as tall, so it would be common sense for Minya to run away. He is called Minya, right? Well, Godzilla keeps forcing him to fight. He's concerned about being a coward instead of being concerned about getting his ass kicked. Eventually, Godzilla helps out and a giant battle's underway. But remember, this is all a dream, and it parallels with the boy's real-life battle with the kidnappers. So he escapes the kidnappers, and then he proves his newfound courage by beating up the bullies. And I don't know which fight is stranger, the monsters jumping around and flying through the air, or this ridiculous LSD-induced strobing fight with the bullies. Some look at this movie with a lighthearted nature and say that it shows a struggle in a youth and that there's some moral lesson to stand up to things and be brave. Yeah, sure. I guess that means to stand up to people who are much bigger than you and to fight monsters that shoot electricity. I don't buy it. Overall, the final monster fight's pretty amusing, but this is undoubtedly the worst of all the Godzilla movies, by far. Any way you look at it, it's absolutely awful. Godzilla's revenge. Who did he get revenge on? That's what I want to know. It's Cinemassacre's Monster Madness, Godzillathon. Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster, also known as Godzilla vs. Hedorah, follows in the line of Godzilla's revenge, targeting it towards kids. Little kids. Little kids who get hopped up on sugar to the point that their brains operate on higher levels of existence and their supersensory nerves subject them to a fantasy world that exceeds that of an adult on the most powerful narcotics known to science. Basically, I'm just trying to say, this movie's really weird. Watching it is like going into a drug-induced mind trip, and even though I said it's geared towards kids, I really can't be sure. Some of it's actually pretty terrifying, like when the smog monster turns people to bones. There's also a scene in a dance club where this guy starts hallucinating and he sees everyone wearing fish masks. I don't know what this has to do with anything. Then there's all these weird animated scenes. It's like watching some kind of children's variety show. There's also a little science lesson about galaxies and nebulas. Yeah, I don't know. This movie's a mixture of horror, children's movie, 70s psychedelic exploitation, and Godzilla. Oh, really? Isn't that why we were here in the first place? Godzilla makes his first appearance coming up to the sunrise with some silly music. He's sure come a long way since he first menaced Tokyo, an icon of destruction, now a savior of the planet. But not in a cool superhero kind of way, in a, hey kids, be good to the earth kind of way. This movie has a theme song called Save the Earth, which plays constantly. Yeah, the smog monster's created from pollution, so the moral lesson of the movie is don't pollute, or else there'll be some weird shit monster that looks like a cross between Oscar the Grouch and the Blob. He's made of crap, so it's like Godzilla's battling a giant turd. Godzilla fights by waving his arms and dancing around. The smog monster fights by throwing Godzilla into a pit and dumping its body of dookie slime all over him. Ugh, it's nasty. He basically shits on everything in sight. I can't believe they did that to a cat. He can also shoot lasers at his eye. Big deal. Godzilla pretty much beats the shit out of him, literally. He just digs into Hedorah's body, pretty much empties all his guts. It's the messiest monster battle ever. He also finds 2 white orbs. At first I thought that these were supposed to be his eyeballs, but you still see the eyes afterwards, so I don't know what the hell these things are supposed to be and why they're in the movie. The whole film is plagued by strange moments such as these. There's a scene where we watch a building crumble, and there's no sound effect or soundtrack whatsoever, it's just silence. Then there's a part where the kid spots Godzilla while up on a roller coaster. It does like this weird freeze frame, and we see Godzilla silhouetted like a black splotch pasted on the background. I don't know, I've always just found this part really weird. Well, actually, the whole movie's really weird. But nothing takes the cake like this. Just watch. I know, I felt the same way when I first saw this. Shocked and speechless. Even the chapter on the DVD menu says something you don't see every day. I agree.